The moment that changed everything, when Ben Affleck cried in front of his ex-wife. I never thought I'd see Batman cry. But there he was, in broad daylight, tears streaming down his face as his ex-wife held his trembling hand outside a rehab facility in 2019. The paparazzi cameras clicked relentlessly, capturing what would become one of the most heartbreaking and beautiful images of unconditional love Hollywood has ever witnessed. Let me take you back to where it all began to fall apart. The golden couple's dark secret. I remember watching Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner at red carpet events in the early 2000s. They were America's sweethearts, the talented actor-director and the girl-next-door actress who seemed to have it all. 3 beautiful children, successful careers, a picture-perfect life in Pacific Palisades. But behind those Hollywood smiles, a demon was slowly destroying everything Ben held dear. The bottles hidden in his home office. The smell of whiskey on his breath during morning school drop-offs. The way Jennifer's eyes would flash with worry when he'd disappear for hours without explanation. I can only imagine the sleepless nights she spent, listening for his car in the driveway, praying he'd come home safe. By 2015, the fairy tale was over. The divorce papers were filed, and the world watched as another Hollywood marriage crumbled. But here's where their story takes an extraordinary turn, one that would redefine what love actually means. The promise that changed everything. Most divorced couples fight over custody, assets, and who gets to keep the friends. Jennifer Garner did something different. She made a choice that would save Ben's life multiple times over the next decade. I will not abandon you, she told him during one of their final conversations as husband and wife. Not because I'm your wife anymore, but because you're the father of my children, and they need you alive. I can picture that moment, the weight of those words settling between them like a sacred vow. Little did she know how many times she'd have to honor that promise in the years to come. The relapses that nearly destroyed him. 2016 brought the first major relapse. Ben's drinking spiraled out of control, and the tabloids had a field day. Photos of him stumbling out of bars, looking disheveled and lost. Most ex-wives would have used this as ammunition in court. Jennifer drove to his house instead. She found him passed out on his kitchen floor, surrounded by empty bottles. For 2 hours, she sat beside him, not saying a word, just making sure he was breathing. When he finally woke up, the first thing he saw was her face, not angry, not judgmental, just heartbroken for the man she once loved. "Jen," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm here," she replied simply. "I'm not going anywhere." The pattern repeated itself. 2017 brought another spiral. 2018, another intervention. Each time, when the world had given up on Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner showed up. Not as his ex-wife, but as his guardian angel. The day the world saw him break. October 2019. Ben had just completed another stint in rehab, his third in 2 years. The paparazzi knew he was getting out, and they were waiting like vultures. Jennifer could have sent a driver. She could have stayed home with the kids. Instead, she got in her car and drove to pick him up herself. I've studied that photograph 1,000 times. Ben, wearing a simple gray t-shirt, his face puffy from weeks of detox, tears flowing freely as he realizes his ex-wife came for him again. Jennifer, her own eyes glistening, reaching across to squeeze his hand with a tenderness that speaks to something deeper than romantic love. The cameras captured the moment, but they couldn't capture the conversation that followed. "Why do you keep saving me?" Ben asked through his tears as they sat in her car. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment, watching their 3 children play in the distance through the rehab center's window. Finally, she turned to him with eyes full of pain and love. "Because someone has to believe in you when you can't believe in yourself," she said. "And because Violet, Serafina, and Sam deserve to have their father in their lives, the real you, not the broken version." The confession that broke hearts worldwide. 2 years later, in a raw, Unfiltered interview. Ben Affleck would make a confession that left millions of viewers in tears. The biggest regret of my life is the divorce from Jen. Not because I want to be married to her again, we both know that ship has sailed. But because I threw away the most precious thing I've ever had, a woman who loved me unconditionally, even when I was completely unlovable. He paused, his voice breaking. She saved my life more times than I can count. She chose to stay in my corner when everyone else, rightfully so, walked away. That's not the love of an ex-wife. That's the love of a saint. The bond that transcends marriage. Today, Ben and Jennifer still live minutes apart. They coordinate schedules, attend school events together, and yes, Jennifer still checks on Ben's sobriety. Not because she has to, but because some bonds are stronger than legal documents or romantic relationships. Their children see two parents who, despite their differences, refuse to let hate win. They see what real love looks like, not the Hollywood version with the perfect ending, but the messy, complicated, grace-filled kind that shows up when life gets hard. I think about Jennifer's choice often. In a world that celebrates moving on and cutting toxic people out of our lives, she chose to stay. Not for romantic love, not for reconciliation, but for something much more powerful, redemption. The legacy of unconditional love. Ben is sober now. He's found love again with Jennifer Lopez, though that's another story entirely. He's rebuilding his career and his relationship with his children. None of this would have been possible without the woman who refused to let him drown when he was sinking. Their story isn't about getting back together, it's about something far more beautiful. It's about a love so pure, so selfless, that it transcends the boundaries of marriage and divorce. It's about choosing grace over grudges, hope over hatred. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about loving someone enough to watch them walk away while still being there to catch them when they fall. And sometimes, just sometimes, that kind of love saves lives. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner may not be husband and wife anymore, but they've created something even rarer, a friendship forged in the fires of pain, strengthened by forgiveness, and sustained by an unbreakable commitment to the family they created together. In a world full of bitter divorces and broken families, they chose a different path. They chose love, not the easy kind, but the kind that costs everything and gives even more. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more incredible stories to come.